Freedom Boat Southern Thinker. Thank you for tuning in to LOP Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy Manchester, South Florida. And today's date is Monday, December 28th, 2020. Oh man, hopefully everyone will be ready for New Year's. It's going to be a little bit more chaotic in good faith. It's not out of fear, but out of love. However, it doesn't mean don't give up on your goals, your visions, and all that good stuff, including supporting your family, your neighbors, etc. Yeah, it's like the stimulus bill passed, signed by President Trump for $2,000 per person. Ooh, but who's going to actually benefit more, right? I haven't really read it yet, but I know I'm not too impressed. From the House of Representatives and all that are like climaxing with the war gods, the financial gods. More big government, more big spending. Yay! How impressive. More into the debt. Is that patriotic or what? Oh, man. I just makes me laugh. And I just see all these numbnuts trying to make a big stink about it. However, I'm going to read an article on that by Chris Sanhall. And we're going to do another one, too, about a Chinese China jail citizen journalist. All right, so I'm going to read that as well. So let's just do a little narration right now by Chris Sanhall. It looks like it hasn't really come out, but she posts on her Facebook page. You should go to chrissanhall.com and check out her stuff. She's very good and very informative. She's a and she's more of a teach show rather than a talk show. She has a good comrade, good companion, J.C. Hall, who's a pastor. Very good folks, man. And it's like, doesn't matter what your creed is, but the information is fantastic. So this is what she has to say. Government charity, unconstitutional, unlawful. This is what she has to say here. Americans watch our federal government spend, and spend. Not only paying out tax dollar-funded charity to Americans, U.S. corporations, and foreign countries, but now even so-called conservative politicians are claiming we have an obligation to give a taxpayer dollars to non-citizens here in the United States and even in Mexico. This out-of-control forced charity, government agents, and giving money taken from Americans by the force of government is the very epitome of overgrown, uncontrollable, bloated government. Maintaining the limited form of government our Constitution demands is vital to the preservation of this nation. If we fail, the unfortunate reality will be that we will have failed to maintain the gift of the Republic that was bought for us by the sacrifice of ease, estate, pleasure, and blood of our forefathers. Frederick Bastate is absolutely the most eloquent in both understanding the teaching principles of forced charity in his book, The Law Explains. The law has placed a collective force at the disposal of the unscrupulous who wish without risk to exploit the person, liberty, and property of others. It has converted plunder into a right in order to protect plunder. The state defines legal plunder if the law takes from some persons what belongs to them and gives it to other persons to whom it does not belong. If the law benefits one citizen at the expense of other by doing what the citizen himself cannot do without committing a crime. So that we understand that government charity is really legalized plunder in disguise, we can do something about it. First step to correcting a problem is understand that you have one. Those we elect to represent us, on the other hand, seem completely clueless. Presidents sign outrageous spending bills, make themselves participate in this plunder. Congress is engaging in every mode of spending that can be conceived, legalized plundering, both sides arguing over how much to tax, and no one discusses the profligate spending, claiming the premise of a false philanthropy. Our founders and even their immediate successors warned that this perspective in government would subvert the very foundations and transmute the very nature of the limited government established by the people of America. It will take character and resolve to make the painful and difficult decisions to preserve the republic so that future generations have an opportunity to enjoy the liberty that has been purchased for us. As usual, the oracles of history have some lessons if we would simply listen. Federal government out of control. Apparently, things began to grow airy for the federal government rather early on. An expansion of congressional power through the forced construction of the General Welfare Clause is one of the chief culprits. Great example of this can be found in the congressional arguments surrounding the cod fishery bill of 1792. A bill subsidized the cod fishing industry. In this, James Madison, the father of our Constitution, the fourth president, defined the proper nature of government to a House wanting to unconstitutionally expand its power and reach, not in a definite government, but a limited government. Madison says, I, sir, have always conceived. I believe those who propose the Constitution conceived. It is still more fully known and more material to observe that those who ratify the Constitution conceive that this is not an indefinite government, deriving its power from the general terms prefixed to the specified powers, but a limited government tied down to the specified powers which explain and define the general terms. General welfare doesn't mean generally everything. Yes, we are supposed to have a limited and defined federal government. Madison was very simply explaining that the clause of common defense and general welfare was not meant to expand power of the government, its limitations, but to describe the purpose of the power delegated within strict confinement of those boundaries. In other words, this clause does not name a power. It simply describes the purpose for the powers named. Then, with amazing foresight, Madison explains the consequence of allowing the federal government to turn these clauses into defined powers. If Congress can employ money indefinitely to the general welfare and are the sole and supreme judges of the general welfare, they may take the care of religion into their own hands. They may appoint teachers in every state, county, and parish and pay them out of their public treasury. They may take into their own hands the education of children, establishing like manner schools throughout the Union. They may assume the provision for the poor. They may undertake the regulation of all roads other than the post roads. In short, everything from the highest object of state legislation down to the most minute object of police would be thrown under the power of Congress. For every object I have mentioned would admit of the application of money and might be called, if Congress pleased, provisions for the general welfare. Limitless spending changes the very nature of the republic. Madison, in describing the consequences of this forced construction of the Constitution, prophesizes for our day. I venture to declare it as my opinion that were the power of Congress to be established and the latitude contended for, it would subvert the very foundations and transmute the very nature of the limited government established by the people of America. Government charity, dangerous president. Yet, America did not listen. In 1831, Congress once again attempts to reconstruct its powers through the artifice of charity. This time, the argument is about supplying wood for the poor of Georgetown. The mayor of Georgetown sent a letter to the House of Representatives asking for relief of the poor of that city and soliciting the House to grant a donation of some wood in the vaults of the Capitol for the use. This sparked a forgotten yet a very relevant debate for this day. Congress cannot give public property for charity. First time to speak up was Congressman James Polk, Democrat from Tennessee, the future 11th President of the United States, in showing a moral character and commitment to the Constitution that is rarely seen today. Polk said he knew it would be viewed as being ungracious to oppose a resolution in behalf of the suffering poor of this district or any other. However, he went on to oppose the resolution of the House to offer this support as the president of appropriating the public funds for such a purpose was a bad one. He reasoned that if they allowed the seemingly small acts of charity, then every winter when the snow fell or the Potomac was frozen, applications would be made to Congress and members would be engaged in the dignified object of buying and stowing wood to give to the poor District of Columbia. Polk opposed this spending on principle. As the House, he had not the power to make the donation requested. And what began with Georgetown would blossom into dependency throughout the nation. It was not the amount he objected to, but that the representatives came to legislate on great concerns of the nation not to give away the public property. He made a final plea to the House with their vote to put a check on legislative power. The next to argue was James Blair, congressman from South Carolina. Blair gets right to the point that it is not in the power of Congress to give out donations from the public treasury for the purpose of charity. He correctly reasons. If so, it would have power also to vote millions of the public money to feed and clothe the suffering poor. The House had no right to give away the public money for any such purpose, and if gentlemen were disposed to be liberal, let them be liberal out of their own money. So let them take it out of their own pockets, not from the treasury. Polk then moved to the floor for the following substitute by the way of amendment: that the sergeant at arms be required to deduct from the compensation of the members of this House on day's pay and delivered said sum to the mayor of Georgetown to be applied to purchase fuel for the paupers of that town, provided nevertheless that such deduction shall be made from the compensation of such members only as vote in favor of the resolution. I believe our representatives could learn several lessons from this. 1. Money collected from the people is not revenue but public property. 2. In spending public property, Congress is limited by the proper confines of the Constitution, not ones established through force Constitution. 3. Personal moral integrity could inhibit Congress from violating points 1 and 2. Let ours be the generation that listens from the framers and their experience. Let ours be the generation that avoids what others call to be inviolable demise of a Republican government. Let ours be the generation that can claim the victory of liberty for our future generations. Thomas Jefferson, in a letter to Thomas Cooper in 1802, made this observation he based upon history. If we can but prevent the government from wasting the labors of the people under the pretense of taking care of them, they must become happy. Interesting observation there. Well, the truth of the matter is, folks, this can backfire on all of us if people want all this big money, stimulus checks and all that. I'm not crazy about it. Don't get me wrong, on the state level and all that, people, I do, like I said, if it's insurance policy, it's understandable. People are hurting. But you gotta let people need to start reopening their businesses too. You gotta let the state and local authorities tell them to stick it. Okay? COVID-19, for example, became another 24/7 excuse for everything. People have the right to make a living, to take care of their families, or themselves as well. Even Florida Governor DeSantis, I don't agree with them on great amount of stuff either. However, when he made that comment in Palm Beach, I have to agree with him on it, with all due respect. This is the road to tyranny when you look at this. If we become more reliant on the government to take care of us, then we become the peasants. Then our opportunity of liberty will be deprived, and our natural abilities to better ourselves can be diminished. So I gotta give props to Chrisanne Hall on this composition. She's always been consistent too. So check her out, okay? So no, she's very good. I'll do one more here. Came out today. Says citizen jails. China jails citizen journalists for 4 years over COVID-19 reporting. I'm gonna put that in there in a moment, folks. Cool. So it says here, former lawyer convicted of picking quarrels and provoking trouble. This is by Frank Fang. Chinese citizen journalist Zhang Zong was sentenced to a 4-year prison on Monday, becoming the first known reporter to be sentenced by Beijing for providing first-hand information about the CC virus pandemic inside China. Zhang, a 37-year-old former lawyer, was convicted of picking quarrels and provoking trouble by the Pudong New Areas People's Court in Shanghai, according to her defense lawyers, Zhang Keki, and Ren Cranua. Zhang appeared in court in a wheelchair, and her mother cried loudly after hearing her sentence. Picking quarrels and provoking trouble and the subversion of the state power are the two common charges the Chinese regime uses to put in prison dissidents. Lawyer Zhang Keki told Hong Kong outlet Apple Daily after the court's sentencing that Zhang was not in good health following a month-long hunger strike. He added that his client did not agree with the 4-year sentence, saying that her comments shouldn't be subject to any review, let alone charged for a crime. Despite her poor health, Zhang Keki had said that he had no idea whether his client will continue the hunger strike in protest. Zhang arrived in Wuhan, the epicenter of China's pandemic, in early February and began posting reports of her social media accounts. She was often critical of the measures taken by Chinese authorities in stopping the spread of COVID-19. She first went missing in May before Chinese authorities confirmed her arrest a month later. Her indictment, which became publicly available in mid-November, showed that Zhang was accused of charges including distributing false information through text, video, and other media, through online media. The court document also accused Zhang of maliciously speculating about Wuhan's pandemic by speaking to overseas media, Radio Free Asia, and the Epoch Times. Zhang was interviewed several times by the Chinese language Epoch Times. In one interview in March, Zhang rejected claims by China officials that the virus causing COVID-19 originated from the United States. She explained that Beijing blamed the virus on the United States because it wanted to divert attention away from China, in particular to alleviate public anger into the about the pandemic. In mid-March, Zhao Luzhen, a China's foreign ministry spokesperson, accused the United States Army of bringing the virus to Wuhan in a Twitter post. Zhang had been on a hunger strike for months before her court appearance on Monday. In the social media post of December 17th, lawyer Ren Cranua wrote that Zhang was so skinny and out of shape that he could hardly recognize her. Ren added Zhang, she said she viewed the hunger strike as a general call for all those who face injustice. The courthouse was heavily secured On Monday, according to AFP, Chinese police pushed journalists and observers away from the court's entrance as Yang arrived. BBC's world coverage of Zhang's 4-year sentence was censored in China. Leo Wan, a researcher and advocacy consultant at U.S.-based rights group Chinese Human Rights Defenders, or CHRD, told the BBC that the 4-year sentence was heavy and it showed that Beijing was very determined to silence her and intimidate other citizens who tried to expose what happened in Wuhan. I'm concerned about the fate of other detained citizens who also reported news about the pandemic, Lan added. The whereabouts of 3 other Chinese citizen journalists, Chen Kuxiu, Fang Bing, and Lia Zhahua, currently remain unknown after they went missing earlier this year. Amnesty International also expressed concerns about Zhang's sentence. Citizen journalists like #Xiangzhan was the primary, if not only, source of uncensored first-hand information during the early days of #COVID-19. #China must stop prosecuting journalists and other individuals merely for reporting the truth, Amnesty wrote in the tweet. Well, absolutely. Because the whole thing is, folks, they want us to say, shut up, this is how it goes, and we're doing this for your own good. Well, you know what? When it comes to government, you got to get them all right? This is why it's very dangerous in what they're doing. They're hiding stuff for the people in that area, especially. And they're going to try to point the finger at somebody else. Give me a break. They made their business deals with possibly some universities in the States. I'm not going to argue with that. But they have no excuse on what they helped create. They are the cooks, may not be the chefs, but they are responsible for their actions and need to be exposed. This is why, my friends, government in general is very dangerous. And all you little goofballs out there, you so-called paper activists, with your little fist in the air, you think you love communism so much, you go to communist China and tell me how great it is. Especially if you're a black person, okay? I'm not trying to be biased here. But if you get the African descent, you're talking about how you get treated over here. Go over there and see how you be how will you be welcome. Please, just do a little report on that. There's plenty of videos to look at yourselves and how they get treated over there. Okay, so I don't want to hear your bogus rhetoric. Manure is a lot more valuable than what you say. So that's how I gotta look at it. So hey. Support Zion Hazan and all the journalists out there trying to spread the truth, not just there, but worldwide. The war on the press continues, and Communist China is just an example. And that will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout the social media network. Excuse me. If you have any questions, comments, we say something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence to the Quorum. Furthermore, I'll leave the footnotes of these articles on my Spreaker page. And if you want to contact me, you can hit me at LokiLuck3@gmail.com or LokiLuckNumbers03@protonmail.com. And if you want to do a donation, you can hit me at paypal.me/LokiLuck3 or cash.app/LokiLuck3. And I encourage everyone to send your donations or support Chris Ann Hall and the Epoch Times. And I'd like to thank the Downtowners for having me do my show here, which is located at 10 South New River Drive in the heart of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, right near the courthouse, the jail, and it's along the southeast section of the Andrews Avenue Bridge. Support your local shops, local restaurants, and all that. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.